Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So it's that time of the week where we take a look at the trucking market, the freight market, to figure out how it has changed since last week. As always, we're going to be looking at volumes, rejections, what is the net change in carrier authorities in the market, diesel prices, and then we'll look at the spot market and how it has changed for the three main equipment types, reefers, dry vans, and flatbeds. And also we'll take a look at what are the relatively better areas to stick to for those three equipment types. Ready? Let's go! So before we get into today's topic, I would like to say a big, huge thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. Many of you guys know that over the past year, I have been trying to take control of my own personal expenses and live lean for the sake of my business. But one thing that has proved unexpectedly challenging to control is those recurring charges for subscriptions. I mean, we've all done it, right? You sign up for something, a free trial, then life happens, you forget about it, and you end up getting billed every single month for something that you don't even use. Well, Rocket Money is here to help. Rocket Money is an all-in-one personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. Like I said, one of the reasons I love Rocket Money is to cancel those unwanted subscriptions. Once you connect your bank account, Rocket Money identifies all your subscriptions in a single list. From there, you can select the ones that you don't want anymore or don't use anymore, and Rocket Money may help you cancel with just a few taps. Now, thanks to Rocket Money, I personally just recently found out that I'm subscribed to a ton of news outlets because I needed access to just one story to report on this channel, which means I signed up for a free trial, but of course I forgot about it and forgot to cancel my subscription. Actually, Rocket Money has helped its customers save up to $740 per year when you use all the app's premium features. They've also helped customers save over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. So take control of your finances today. Go to rocketmoney.com/truckingmadesuccessful to get started for free. All right, so I'm going to be attaching the charts right here. And the first thing we are looking at is the net change in carrier authorities. So as of last Friday, we lost an additional 337 carriers net. How many trucks were under each of those MCs? We have no idea, but 337 carriers lost. Now, in terms of the difference between what contract carriers get paid and what spot carriers get paid, here is a chart that shows that. The dark blue line is us in 2024. The pink line is last year, 2023. As a reminder, the higher the line on the chart, the smaller the margin between what contract carriers and spot carriers earn. So this year, pretty much the whole year, contract carriers have been earning significantly less than they were last year, and the margin is closer. And currently, they are earning around 59 cents per mile more than those spot carriers. Now, what about those volumes in the general freight market for all equipment types? Well, again, the dark blue is us in 2024 compared to 2023. And we can see that for the first time pretty much this year, the volumes are below 2023 levels. However, it looks like they are on their way up. And this is normal because we're approaching Thanksgiving and the holidays, Black Friday. So volumes do tend to tick up right before that happens. Now, let's talk about rejections for a minute. Rejections are when a contract carrier does not haul their contracted freight, which makes that load go to the spot market eventually. So currently, we can see that rejections, dark blue line, 2024, rejections are much higher than they were this time in 2023. They are currently actually at 5.57%. Just to give you an idea, the higher this number is, the better for the spot market because it increases volumes. In 2021, the rejection was above 25%. It was something crazy. So yeah, rejections are definitely higher than last year, but they are on their way down right now. Last but not least, let's talk about diesel prices. And this is according to actual truck stops across the United States. The average price per gallon right now is $3.58 per gallon, more or less. And this is the lowest it has been in, I believe, 3 years. So That's a piece of good news. All right, now we're moving on to equipment specific data, starting with those dry vans, and we'll look at the spot market first. What happened on the spot market? So, this data is according to FTR Intel, and we can see that dry vans saw another 1 cent per mile decrease since last week, although year over year, compared to this time last year, rates on the spot market are actually 2.5% higher. So if we're looking at rates over a 5-year average, they're 12% lower. Volume saw an almost 9% decrease week over week since last week. Volumes are 13% lower right now than this time last year, and over the 5-year period, they are down by 41%. Now, as always, we also take a look at market movers for dry vans, and this is for the general market to figure out what is going on in different market areas. So first, let's start with volume. Anything blue is an increase in volume. Anything red is a decrease. So we can see there's a lot of blue. So there are a lot of markets that are seeing an increase in volume in the general market. This is not the spot market. This is the general market. Hopefully that is going to somehow translate into more volume to the spot market, but that depends on rejections. And speaking of rejections, here's another market mover map for dry vans, and it's mostly red, which means that rejections are actually on their way down, unfortunately, with the exception of several markets that are in blue. So now the question is, what are the relatively better areas to stick to in the spot market if you have a dry van? So the top 5 markets where more contract freight hits the spot market are Ontario, California, Atlanta, Georgia, Los Angeles, California, Columbus, Ohio, and Dallas, Texas. This tells us everything about the volume side. But in order to figure out what the rates will be like, we have to look at the capacity side as well. And this I do using the DAT heat maps. So Ontario is a hot market by itself, and it has actually limited capacity around, which means there's not going to be as much of a possibility of other trucks that are not in Ontario deadheading to Ontario to get their next load. Atlanta, Georgia is a hot market by itself, but around it, it's packed with trucks, which means that all those trucks are going to be going to Atlanta, Georgia to get their next load, which means that you're not going to find the best rate per mile out of Atlanta. Now, Los Angeles, California is similar to Ontario. They're pretty close together. Hot market, limited capacity around. Columbus, Ohio is just a lukewarm market. So that means they're pretty much the same amount of trucks as there are loads, but there's also some capacity around. So not going to be the best market out there. And Dallas, Texas, hot market by itself, but again, over capacity around. All right, now let's talk about those reefers. So reefers week over week actually saw no change in the rate per mile, 0% increase or decrease. But year over year, compared to this time last year, rates are actually 2% higher. Now, over the past 5 years, rates are down 9% on the spot market for reefers. Volumes are down 2.4% for reefers since last week. They are down 6% year over year and down 36% over the past 5 years. Now, in terms of the market movers, again, let's start with volumes. You're going to see a lot of red and a lot of gray. So anything dark gray like Nevada, parts of Texas, these are places where there is no data. We don't know what's happening there. Anything light gray like Southern California and parts of Arizona, that is no change. But there's a lot of red, which means that volumes in the general market for reefers are also seeing a decrease. Now, the question is, what is happening on the rejection side? And on the rejection side, it's a hit or miss. Some markets like Idaho, Southern California are seeing some increases in rejections. North Dakota is seeing a lot of decreases. So it's kind of 50-50. And there's also a lot of areas where we don't really have data. So the question is, which areas should you stick to if you have a reefer? Well, the top 5 markets where more contract freight hits the spot market, therefore increasing that volume for reefers, are Ontario, California, Joplin, Missouri, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Twin Falls, Idaho, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, if we look at the capacity in those markets, you can see that Ontario and Twin Falls are hot markets with limited capacity around. So that is a good thing. Now, Joplin, Missouri, and Indianapolis, Indiana are warm markets. There are slightly more loads than there are trucks, but there's also some capacity around that could dilute that situation. And then we have Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is hot by itself, but it also has some capacity around, which could potentially kind of sour the situation there just slightly. But since it's a hot market, you have some kind of chance of getting a more or less workable rate per mile there. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about flatbeds, which unfortunately don't have the best data this week or in the past month, I feel like. So week over week, the rate per mile for flatbeds has gone down by 3 cents per mile. Honestly, it's completely normal because right now is definitely not the season for open deck trailers. For the most part, flatbeds are strongly reliant on the construction season, and construction does tend to slow down in colder months. Now, year over year, and this is a little bit concerning, compared to this time last year, flatbeds are seeing a 2% decrease in those spot rates. And over the past 5 years, rates are down 7%. Now, volumes week over week went down by almost 12% for flatbeds. Again, it's normal. Right now is not really the season for flatbeds. Year over year, however, volumes are up 25%. So it's interesting. Rates are down year over year by 2%, but volumes are actually higher, which tells me there's more flatbed capacity in the market than this time last year. And volumes over the past 5 years have gone down 20%. All right, now let's talk about where are the better areas for flatbeds. And I make these maps using truck stop data because Sonar does not provide as much information for flatbeds. So number one, where are the loads coming out of? And this is by state. The darker an area is, the more loads are coming out of that area. So Alabama is by far the state where the most volume comes out of. But you can see also the South as well as the West Coast is where a lot of loads come out of. Now, what about capacity? And here we're looking at also the color of the area. The darker red it is, the more capacity in that area. Texas and Florida are where most flatbeds end up. California as well as some of the Midwest and the East Coast. Now, where they don't end up a lot of the time is Washington, Oregon, and the northern states. But the question now is, if we put the capacity and volumes together, where are the better areas? What is the load to truck ratio? Where do you have more negotiating power? Anything burgundy red like Texas, this is severe overcapacity. It means that there is less than half a load per truck. Anything red like California, Nevada, Iowa, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, this is still overcapacity. It's still less than a load per truck. Anything orange like Idaho, Minnesota, this is equilibrium. There are about as many loads as there are trucks in that area. Yellow like Montana or Maine, this is slight undercapacity. There are between 1.5 to 2 loads per truck there. Light green, which is Wyoming and Massachusetts, these are the only 2 states, this is under capacity, 2 to 3 loads per truck. Green, like Alabama and Washington, this is moderate under capacity. There are between 3 to 10 loads per truck there, and Mississippi and Oregon are the only 2 states which have severe undercapacity for flatbeds where there are over 10 loads per truck. But please remember, and I know I say it in every video, but the Pacific Northwest is one of those areas where brokers tend to repost the same load several different times, which means that it's going to look like there are way more loads than there actually are. That being said, there are more loads in the Pacific Northwest right now, and you can potentially get a better rate per mile from there, of course, depending on where you're going. So pretty much all week this week, our motto was, well, let's see what happens. Really, there was absolutely no data that we managed to follow simply because the loads didn't allow us to do so. So we were forced to book the highest possible rate to wherever and then hope and pray that we are going to find something getting out of that market later on. Were we lucky? Yeah, sometimes. Did I win myself an extra few strands of gray hair? Yep. For a person like me who doesn't really like to wing it when it comes to business, especially, this week has been an absolute doozy simply because I couldn't make any calculated moves. But this is the industry. Sometimes you can plan based on the data, and other times the market just doesn't allow you to do so, and you have to just hope for the best. You know, we often look back longingly at 2021 as the time when things were so perfect in the trucking industry. And something I realized is it's not so much about the rates we had back then, it was about consistency. You knew that pretty much regardless of what kind of market you end up in, you are going to get out with a good rate that is going to earn you a profit. Today, it's literally like playing poker with the universe. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me and watching today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week and weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep learning. See you in the next video.